I'm going to start how we start all of these interviews with what's your name, how old are you, and where are you from?
Okay, my name is Terry, and I'm from Arizona, and I'm 71 years old, but actually today I'm feeling a little bit younger on the eve of knowing I'm going to go to Las Vegas tomorrow and be part of see the concert being recreated. I'm 15 again, a little
Yeah,
bit
we're going to have
15
to
right now.
circle back to that in a minute here. So
I
I
know.
love that. So, how did you become an Elvis fan?
I don't remember ever not being an Elvis fan. My mother said that I used to just dance around in my crib when his music was played. So clearly his music was played in our house. But I do know that by the time 1960s came along, I owned it for myself. I bought every record that came out, every 45, every album that came about. And I would go to the store and go through all the movie magazines that were so popular then, Photo Play and such, and bought all of those and read everything. Most of those pictures ended up on my bedroom wall, glued or taped to the wall from ceiling to floor, wall to wall wallpaper. So I just lived and breathed Elvis. I mean, everybody that knew me knew I was an Elvis fan. It wasn't as if I had a lot of other interests. Elvis was my interest,
Yeah.
just Elvis.
So let's get into the meat here. So you got to see him 5 times in concert and over a good amount of time. So like you
Yeah,
got to see him at
from the
different.
beginning, almost like to the end, a few months before he died. Yes.
So like when did you get to see him? First, when did you get to see him?
Okay, so the first, well, as I said, I'm a big Elvis fan. I came home from school one day. I was in high school. I was 15 years old. And my mother handed me a newspaper article to read, and it was telling about Elvis signing this contract to appear at the International Hotel and, all the details about that. And she said to me, would you want to go? As if that was even a question that you would have to ask me. I was
Yeah.
like, yes. Well, then she had already booked the reservations and everything and had the airplane tickets and everything and showed me there. So she'd already made it happen.
Yeah.
She was just setting me up, for it. I don't even know what month that was or when that happened. All I know is that we went and it was, we shopped for my outfit and I had my hair all done up. And we went up there and stayed at this beautiful hotel. I'll show you a picture. This is a
Yeah.
postcard from there. And so you can see it was just out in the desert. There
Yeah.
wasn't really any other thing around. But on the way there, there was just billboard after billboard of advertising Elvis's stay there. And so the excitement was so high.
Yeah.
And then when you walked into the hotel, it was full of Elvis merchandise, banners, posters, hats, just everything. It was all over the place. Elvis, 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 and you're just on a cloud from the moment, that I knew I was going. So then we went into the dinner show and I have I don't have it here to show you, but I have the beautiful menu with his picture on there. And like a little teenager, I marked a little check mark next to each of the items of food that I ate and ordered. And then after that was over, or during that time, there was a comedian that was on stage. And then when that ended, there was this silence. And I know for myself, and I feel like the whole audience, we were just holding our breath,
I
just
have to ask you
waiting.
before you keep going, where were your seats?
Our seats were kind of towards the right and they were towards the back. They weren't really up close. But I saw him well.
Yeah.
I saw him really
It's
well,
not a
which
huge space.
which I'll show you a picture of that night.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he came on stage. And then I think it was like a collective where we all breathed, again, caught our breath and we're like, and all I know is that I screamed and cried through the whole concert, just shaking, because I was finally, in my sense, seeing the person that I've dreamed of all my life, and there he was, and it was perfection. It was exhilarating. It was magic. I've never had anything else like that. And, I love it when people ask, and that was my first concert. So it's like,
Oh my gosh.
My first concert was Elvis Presley. I mean, top that, right? Nobody can top, in my mind, nobody can top that.
Yeah.
So
And based on what he was wearing, that looks like 1969. I
it
mean,
is.
that's
It
like
is.
right when he came, right when he like
Right.
1969,
It
basically.
is. It's right then. And then I happened to be in the lobby, and for some reason, I don't even know what day this happened, but one of the following days, and I'm holding the menu, and Ronnie Tut walked by, and my
Ronnie
mother said,
Tut's
"There's
my
Ronnie
favorite.
Tut.
Ronnie Tut's my
Is
favorite.
it?"
Uh-huh.
And so he signed the top of the menu for me, just his name. So yeah, it was. I mean, even now, in anticipation of going up there and seeing that reproduced and everything, my heart starts feeling rapid again. I get sweaty palms. I'm just so excited for this event.
Yeah, absolutely. And like in him in July 1969, I mean, he's coming back to performing. He's got something to prove. So he's like a tiger in a cage. Like he's
He
ready.
was.
Like I can't even if there was a time I would want to see Elvis, it would be July 1969. Like
I
he
agree.
was living my dream. And then getting to see Ronnie Tut, like I love Ronnie Tut. Like he's my
Oh,
favorite just for how he plays the drums. Like I
oh yes.
love him.
Yes.
So,
Mm-hmm.
like him coming, you getting to see Elvis at his peak, and he looked
His peak
fantastic.
looked fantastic.
His-
Like I said, perfection. I mean, really, it was perfection. I
yeah.
mean, he could just stand there and breathe, and we were all
Oh, yeah.
just, mesmerized by
Yeah.
him.
So then you saw him again in 70. And was that also at the International, or did you see?
No, so then after this stay and residency there in Las Vegas, he announced that he was going to start touring around the United States. Well, where do you think the first state was that he said he was coming to? Phoenix, Arizona. Well, oh my gosh, I don't know again how my mom did it, but she got front row seats for us on that one. Front row
Oh,
seats.
front. Oh my God.
Front row seats. My mother was a nurse, and she worked at this nursing home, and there was a young man there, and his name was Ronnie Vasquez, and he was handicapped, and he was an Elvis fan. And I used to go down there and visit with him when my mom was working. And so we would talk Elvis and so forth. And she bought him a ticket, and we took him with us to the concert. And it was a big ordeal because of him being in a wheelchair and stuff. So I don't know if that's part of how we got a front row seat. I'm really not sure, but we got a front row seat.
It's all right with me.
And that is that was just as an exhilarating experience.
Oh, yeah.
And then at the end of that concert, he's wearing this gorgeous Kelly green scarf, and he threw it over towards me at my direction. I mean, I ran to the stage and I grabbed it and held on to it. And that is what you're seeing right back there. And it had a sweat on it. And I wore it to school the next day. And my teachers all thought it was super cool. And I met a girl there at the concert. Her name was Karen. And I went to her house to spend the night sometimes. And that's her sitting next to me in that picture where I'm wearing it.
Oh
But
my God.
yep. But then the funny thing or the interesting thing for me, I think was maybe it's been within the last 10 years. I happened to be reading something that was an Elvis in history article. And in the article, it said that that was where the whole Elvis tradition started of him throwing out a scarf to the audience. And so I got the very first scarf that was ever thrown out from a concert.
Oh my gosh. And the fact that it's also green. Like you don't ever
Oh,
see like
I
colors.
love that green color. Yes.
That's worth a whole lot. And like never let that go. Never let that leave
Oh,
your family ever.
the only possibility I would ever consider is if it ever wanted to end up at Graceland, just so all other fans could have it for that reason. But if that doesn't happen, it's staying in my family.
Absolutely. So to be front row, to see Elvis in 70, he's on tour, like to be that close to him. I mean, like I hear he just gives off this aura.
He did. And that's what I'm saying, where he could just stand up there and breathe and you would be thrilled. He just has the cutest smile and all these little mannerisms and his moves and everything he does. It's just stirs up something inside you.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to assume that your mother was a big Elvis fan.
Oh, I'm assuming so too, but I don't remember her, like I said, never collecting anything,
Yeah.
and I don't remember her having even records. I mean, if she did, they didn't come down to me. I got all my own.
Because she was going to some lengths to get these tickets and to,
Exactly.
like playing them when you were in the crib, basically, and all that stuff. So
Right.
she was a good person to have on your side during
I
this time.
know.
That's
Nicest thing she ever did for me. I'm very grateful.
yeah. So then 72, you saw him again.
And I was a senior in high school that year.
Okay.
And he was in, see, I had to look at my notes because I get confused them which is which. Okay, so that was in Tucson. Yeah, now on that trip, my mother had fallen, not there, but on the way, I mean, before we left, and twisted her ankle. And I just begged her and made her, it's like, you have to still go with me to go see Elvis. I mean, because I wasn't driving then and I needed her to go with me. So we saw him there at that concert. Not front row seats, but not super far back
Yeah.
either. And then he came, I think it was on an Easter, it was Easter Sunday, and he came again to Phoenix at the same Veterans Memorial Coliseum. And by this time I was married and I took my husband to go see him. And
Had a
then
prerequisite for him to be an Elvis fan.
Uh, nobody else in my, I think they think I have enough for everybody.
Yeah.
So they're not against him. It's just that they're not like over the moon like I am.
Yeah.
But I have introduced my three oldest granddaughters to him, and we've had movie marathon days where we've watched his movies, and I've bought them the DVDs or the VHS movies of those, and they really get into it. I mean, just because they're celebrating with me, they'll come dressed up like Anne Margaret or whoever the character is in the movie. So, they play the part. It's real cute. And then the last time I saw him was in 1977. I think it was, what month was it? June, March. Yeah, in Tempe. And that was an outdoor concert. That was at Tempe ASU Stadium outdoors. I think it was an afternoon concert, if I
Yeah.
remember right, like 3 o'clock. That one was a little sadder just because he wasn't at his best, and my heart ached for him. I mean, I wasn't disappointed in seeing him but clearly it was not the image that I had on the first couple concerts.
Yeah. Yeah. But so speaking of 77, then, I mean, were you surprised when you heard the news that he had passed? And do you remember where you were?
Oh, yes. I was home in the kitchen. I had a little 3-year-old child, and the phone rang, and it was a friend that knew I was a big Elvis fan. And she said, have you heard the news? Do you have your TV on? And I said, no, you know what? And she said, I'm so sorry to tell you this. Elvis is dead. Elvis has died. I'm like, what? And I ran to the television. I turned it on. And of course, it was on every station, all the news stations talking about it. And even after that, there were different news programs that had long stories about his career. But I just cried because that was the first person that ever meant anything to me. And I mean, even relative that died. So the loss for me was really profound. I was really in deep sorrow.
Mhm.
It was a hard loss.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, being able like seeing him from his peak because as newer Elvis fans, like we see it coming. We know the story, we know all this, but like living it and like experiencing it is a whole different scenario.
It's a shock.
Yeah.
I'm 42 years old. It was just a shock.
Yeah.
And and then as I aged myself and, through marriage and having children and grandchildren, still thinking about that with him and thinking, what would it have been like for him to have continued to live and have the relationship with his daughter, with Lisa Marie? Would that have changed things in his life for him? Would it have changed things for her? And the grandchildren, I'm sure he would have been extremely proud of all of them, but sorrow that he didn't, and grief that he didn't get to experience that. It was a very short-lived life.
Yeah. And I just turned 40 and so like I'm sitting here thinking like that is so young. 42 is so young. Like I still feel like a kid. And so just imagining like how much life he had, like how much life he lived in that short time, but how much more life he had ahead of him.
Mhm.
it's just upsetting.
It
Um,
is.
and so what do you think of people who say that being an Elvis fan is living in the past?
Well, that's an interesting statement for me, at least, because in one way that's true. I am living in the past, and I'm happy that I have that for a past. But considering the time that we're in right now with I would call it Elvis mania again, with the Baz movie and all the new fans, I'm living in the present with it in a new way. And I get to share it with them. And it's even more special that they want to hear about it, like doing this interview with you, or the people that I have met that way, that they care about your stories and they're happy for you and they think it's cool and they want to be um, part of it.
Yeah.
I think so. It's both things. It's the past and the present, and it's with great hope for the future that it will continue. And for in that way, I really applaud all of these new fans and the Instagrammers and so forth, because they're doing wonderful things to promote Elvis, and they're doing it in new ways, and they know the technology that can, make it happen and spread it far and wide. And I think they're just as dedicated fans as all the original, I call them original fans or the first fans. I think they're just as dedicated. And so it's just a larger group and it keeps growing.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting too, like with technology now. I was talking to somebody yesterday who was saying they're an older fan and they're like, I'm seeing footage that I've never seen before, from, I went to this concert and now that I've seen footage of that concert now because it's been uncovered and the internet's available and like now I can see those things and all these different videos and hear these concerts that I've never had the chance to see. And so it's like becoming a fan again because all of this stuff is available now and like the internet's making it possible, so it's reinvigorating old fans as well too, which I think
Well,
is
and like I said, I mean, when we were limited then, all we had access to was the movie magazines and with seeing him when he'd come out in a movie. And then you felt, oh, I get to, see him and he's moving and talking. And that's as close as you got. And now there's so much more. And wow, who couldn't be happy and thrilled about that?
yeah, exactly. So my last question to you is, what does being an Elvis fan mean to you today?
Hmm. Well, it means I have great music. That's for
Mhm.
sure. I always have great music. I love the movies still. I mean, they were my youth growing up in my teen years, and so they, are real special to me. They like capture my growing up years. And being an Elvis fan has made, I've made some new friends with some of the new fans. That's exciting to share that. I mean, that really bridge age gaps and it bridges everything, just like Elvis did. He bridged race, he bridged different cultures, different economic groups of people, everything, and it's still happening. And so the sky's the limit, of the people that you might meet, the friends that you might gain, and there's just no end to it. So Elvis will never not be a part of my life. I mean, it's just a very pivotal part of my life.
Yeah, he's a family member at this point.
Yeah, he's a family member.
Yeah. Well, Terry, thank you so much for talking to me today. It's an honor to speak to the person that got the very first Elvis scarf from him. That's amazing. But I say it almost every interview, but I think that Elvis fans are just as much of a part of Elvis's story as anyone who was on stage with him. And so it's an honor to document your story and to put it out for people to see. And I think people are really going to enjoy this. So thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.